Once upon a time, in a grand estate, there lived a wealthy man whose wife was gravely ill. As she felt her time nearing, she called her beloved daughter, Cinderella, to her side. "My dear child," she whispered, "when I am gone, be kind and faithful, and God will always look after you. I will watch over you from heaven." With those final words, she closed her eyes and passed away. Heartbroken, Cinderella visited her mother's grave daily, shedding tears for her loss. Meanwhile, her father, wishing to have someone to care for his daughter, remarried a widow who had 2 daughters of her own. Unfortunately, Cinderella found herself at the mercy of her cruel stepmother and unkind stepsisters, who treated her like a servant, forcing her to do all the household chores. One day, while Cinderella was sweeping the floor, her stepsisters lounged on the sofa, carelessly tossing fruit peels onto the ground. Their mother entered the room and scolded Cinderella. "Clean this mess, you lazy girl. Can't you do anything right?" Cinderella nodded and set to work, wishing for just a morsel of food as she scrubbed the dishes. "You can have leftovers when we're done," her stepsister sneered. Each night, she slept in the attic, her heart heavy with sadness. Yet, in her solitude, she found companionship with the little animals around her, birds and mice who empathized with her plight. One day, the king announced a grand ball at the palace to find a bride for his son, inviting every young maiden in the kingdom. Excitement buzzed through the town, and Cinderella longed to attend. Her stepsisters, however, were determined to look their best for the prince and insisted she help them prepare. Cinderella sighed, "I wish I could go too. I want to see the palace." "You? In that old dress? Everyone would laugh at you," they mocked. As they left for the ball, Cinderella sat alone, tears streaming down her face. Remembering her mother's wedding gown, she retrieved it, though it was tattered and worn. Just as she began to mend it, a fairy godmother appeared. "Don't cry, my dear. I can help you attend the ball." Cinderella, amazed, asked, "But how? My clothes are ruined." With a flick of her wand, the fairy transformed Cinderella's ragged dress into a stunning gown, complete with glass slippers. The fairy then enchanted a pumpkin into a magnificent carriage, with the mice as horses and the birds as her coachmen. Remember, the fairy warned, the magic lasts only until midnight. Be home before then. Cinderella promised, and off she went to the ball. Upon her arrival, all eyes turned to her. Even her stepsisters failed to recognize the enchanting beauty before them. The prince, captivated by her, immediately asked her to dance, and they twirled together all night. But as the clock began to chime midnight, Cinderella remembered her fairy godmother's warning. In her rush to leave, she lost one of her glass slippers. The prince, determined to find her, picked up the slipper and declared he would search the kingdom for the girl who fit it. His search began, and soon he arrived at Cinderella's home. "Is there anyone else here who attended the ball?" he inquired. The stepmother quickly hid Cinderella in the attic, insisting there was no one else. But one of the prince's men discovered the locked attic door. When it was opened, Cinderella emerged, and when she tried on the slipper, it fit perfectly. The stepmother gasped in disbelief. "What is your name?" the prince asked, kneeling before her. "Cinderella," she replied, a smile spreading across her face. "Will you marry me?" he asked, and she joyfully accepted. They returned to the palace, where the king and queen welcomed Cinderella with open arms. Soon, she married the prince in a splendid ceremony, and together they lived happily ever after.